1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 1. Now we're going to, I think, just about read through this whole chapter, so we've got to move quickly. We'll stop here and there, but we're going to continue to move quickly, all right? Man, it's already 11:45. You all worshipped entirely too long. It's a problem. Kidding. All right, now there was a certain man. Just forgive me with these names and locations. Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim, Zophim, of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. And he had 2 wives. All right, so we're looking at Elkanah. He had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah. The name of the other, Peninnah. That kind of makes me hungry. Like a panini. So he's Elkanah, right? Hannah, Peninnah. That's the main people of the story that we're looking at. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. Had no children. This man went up from his city yearly to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts, which means the God of the angel armies, in Shiloh. Also, the 2 sons of Eli, there's another part of the story, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. And whenever the time came for Elkanah to make an offering, he would give portions. Now, what are portions? You ever know when I say portions what he's talking about there? What he's giving them is helpings from the sacrificial meal. Okay, they would kill the sacrifice, they would make a sacrifice, and then they would be cooking the meat. The priests got to come, after they would burn the fat, which belonged to God, the priests would come and they would get to stick their 3-pronged fork down into the meat to get their choice, their piece, whatever that would come out would be the priest, and then the man, Elkanah, he would be able to give portions to his family. So he would give portions to Peninnah. He would get helpings. All right? So this is part of what they would eat. Elkanah would give portions to Peninnah, we're in still verse 4, his wife, and to all her sons and daughters. All right, so here we got all this family, he's giving them helpings, portions. But to Hannah, he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord had closed her womb. Now, ladies, I just want to apologize on behalf of men, because sometimes we're not the smartest. Somehow, in our ridiculous consciousness, we think, I'm sorry, honey, you can't have a baby. Have some more food. It's going to help. I thought that would be funnier than the way you guys thought it would be, but I got a kick out of that. Oh, you can't have a baby, honey. Here's some more food. Have seconds. So, just women, if you can, work with this. We're working with the best that we have. All right, that's the best. It's kind of like when you see a woman in a car, or she's on the road and you drive by. Now, this is before you're married, so this is when you're driving down the road and you see a woman on the road and she's walking and she's attractive, and you holler at her, "Hey, baby!" Like somehow, our best thought is when we get to a red light, she's going to run up beside us and say, "Man, you hollered at me, so I just had to chase you down." We're not that bright. I mean, what is she going to do? Is she going to chase you down? No, she's just going to keep walking, and there's nothing ever going to come of it. But that's, for years, that's the best we could come up with. And you can thank Jerry Seinfeld for that joke. It's not mine. But he says, all right, I'm going to give you a double portion because you can't have any children. Now, I appreciate women. I do appreciate the fact that he is somehow trying to appease her pain and hurt. He's trying to help. But this is what happens in verse 6. It makes it even worse. Not his food, but the other wife. Now, I can't get into the other wife's story right now, all right? This is just how things were back then. God was using this to populate the earth, right? Men had multiple wives, and in our day and age, it's amazing that men even go for one wife. It's a lot of work. It's a lovely blessing, women. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. But they had multiple wives, all right? So I don't have time to get into all that right now. That's why God used people to kind of populate the earth. So verse 6, her rival, the other wife, okay? Her rival also provoked her severely to make her miserable, because the Lord had closed her womb. Now, before I get into that, let's just look at this for a minute. Isn't it amazing how mankind loves to look down on other mankind when they had nothing to do with the gift that they have? Peninnah was able to have children. Hannah could not have children, not for any reason of their own. Hannah never decided, I don't want children. Peninnah never decided, I want to have children. I'm blessed that way. I just decided to have children. It was a God-given ability, yet Peninnah was looking down on Hannah because of that ability, because of that talent, because of that gift. And it is amazing that we'll look down even on Peninnah now, but we have done the same thing to multiples of people. Well, you can't raise a family like I can raise a family. You can't work like I can work. You can't dunk a basketball like I can dunk. You can't cook like I can cook. You can't, and I'm not saying that we don't put forth effort to help, but so many times God has given us gifts and others He has not given them gifts, and we look down and, oh, if only you could do this like I do it. Right? I was blessed with a wonderful family, a mom and a dad who loved me, who raised me in church, raised me under the name of Christ. There are many people who never got that gift. Not their fault. Not my fault. So I can't look down and say, well, you weren't raised like I was raised, so sorry about your luck. You should have done better. However, here's Peninnah, and she has decided to provoke Hannah. Now, I want you to look here, because what does it say? Her rival provoked her severely to make her miserable because what? What does it say? The Lord had what? Well, that messes up with a lot of theology, doesn't it? It was not an accident. It was not nature. It was not Hannah. It was God who closed her womb. Now, a lot of people will say, man, that's cruel. Why does God act like that? How many has ever heard? I don't believe God would act like that. I don't believe God should torture people. I don't believe God should take out vengeance on people. I don't believe in a God that would act and behave like that. Well, you're not God, so you don't get to decide how God is able to act. God decided to put you into life. Amen? But He does it for a purpose, which we're going to get to. Right? In Daniel 4:35, we learn that God will do according to His own will. He does not work to get the approval of man. God does not need our approval. He just wants us to love Him and to trust Him that He is God and He's in control. So God causes her womb to close, but He uses that grief to build her character and to build her faith in Him. Right? Look here. Verse 7. So it was year by year when she went up to the house of the Lord that she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. Right? We learn eventually that Hannah is so grieved by this that she goes to God in prayer. Right? So she didn't let her wound being closed drive her from God, which is what many people do. But she used what God had done to her in a way to bring her to God, which is the purpose of the wound being closed. Say that again. That was the purpose of her wound being closed. Amen. Sometimes we wonder why something happens. Why, God, did you cause this? Why, God, did you allow this? So that you would put your trust in Him. Her grievance made her come to Him, not away from Him. So, year by year, she went up to the house of the Lord. This was year after year. This is not a 2-month period. Year after year, Peninnah continued to provoke Hannah. And it says she wept and she did not eat. She was being given a double portion of food, but it wasn't what she craved for. She longed for a child. Isn't it amazing that no matter what you're blessed with, when you don't have what you really want, it's not going to satisfy you? It works that way with God, that we will get so many things in life, in earth, in possessions. But when our being craves for God, we're not going to be satisfied. Alright? How many would agree with this? If God created you, He knows how the best way for you to live is. And the best way for you to live is with Him. So when you live without Him, you won't be fully satisfied. Amen? Alright, I'm trying to hurry. I know it's late, but it's not like you have a Mother's Day dinner or something to go to. Alright, verse 8. Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart grieved? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? Again, ladies, I'm sorry. Men are just not that bright. Alright? Not a good time. You want to be slapped. You don't get your child, hey, I'm not better than a child. Probably not a wise thing to say. But look here, verse 9. So Hannah arose after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the tabernacle of the Lord, and she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed to the Lord, and wept in anguish. Then she made a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant, and remember me, and not forget your maidservant. Let's pause there just for a moment. Look at the words that she uses. Lord, if you will indeed look on my affliction, if you will remember me, if you will not forget me. How many of you think God does that? How many of you think God forgets you? How many of you think God ignores you, doesn't remember you? How many of you went before God and said, God, I don't know if you remember me or not. I've been praying and I'm not seeing any answers. How often do we feel like God has forgotten us? In the middle of our tragedy, God, where are you? She says, remember me, which literally means to call to mind or to think on me. God, think about me, Hannah, and not forget, which means to ignore. She says, think about me. Don't ignore my prayers. She says, if you'll do that, if you'll not forget me, But will you give your maidservant a male child? Then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall come upon his head. She says, if you'll answer my prayer and give me a boy, I'll give him back to you. Okay, I gotta hurry. Verse 12. And it happened as she continued praying, which means she was persevering in this prayer. It wasn't just, God, I really like a boy, and that's it. She continued praying. She spent hours in prayer. I will prove it to you in just a moment. That Eli watched her mouth. Eli is the father of the two priests at the time. Now Hannah spoke in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she was drunk. What was Hannah doing? Praying. Alright? But Eli looks at her and he thinks she's drunk. Eli says to her, how long will you be drunk? Put your wine away from you. Now Eli, again, a wise man, used by God, but did you ever notice, something about that made me think about how mighty and how powerful and strong the women of the Bible are. Men have a horrible rap. I mean, we see men after men. We see Noah. We see Moses. We see Joseph. We see Jacob. We see David. We see man after man after man do great things, but then do stupid things and fall away. We see, like, Eve had the power over Adam to make him sin. I know she just wasn't just like trying to make him sin. Just like, here, eat this apple. He just took it. Jesus' mother, Mary, she was such a strong, influential woman. Naomi, Ruth, Esther, Hannah, Bathsheba made David fall. Jezebel made all kinds of men fall. Abigail over Nabal. Lois and Eunice was Timothy's mother and grandmother who made a huge influence on his life. Women have a great strength and power that men don't have in the way that they have it. Men have a different type of strength used for different things, but men are goofy. We mess up a lot. I'm sorry, women. And he says, hey, how long? Eli's like, how long are you going to sit there and be drunk? And Hannah says this in verse 15. No, my Lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. And in other words, she's saying this. The only thing that's been being poured out in my house is my heart, not the liquor bottle. I haven't been covering my hurt with the wine and with something that's going to numb me. I've been pouring out my heart to God that He might change the circumstance. She says, do not consider your maidservant a wicked woman, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief I have spoken until now. Which means she'd been there a long time praying. And she says, the reason I've been here so long praying is because I am so hurt. Eli answers and says, go in peace, and the God of Israel grant your petition which you have asked of Him. Amazing that Eli just says that. Does the Bible tell you that Eli knows what she's praying about? Does Eli ever mention that he knows what she's praying about? He knows she is grieving, but I love this. This is what's so beautiful. Eli is able to say this because of Hannah's desperation. I can show you why. Because sometimes we'll be so desperate that it will cause us to cry out to God. Eli, look at me, listen, think about this in the matter of prayer. Eli, he knows, I'm not going to say Eli knows God and knows all His purposes and plans, but Eli knows the purpose of suffering is to bring her closer to God. Now, he might not know the plan. Eli doesn't know the pain, what she's going through. He doesn't know the plan of how God's going to answer and how it's going to come about. but he knows her pain is meant to draw her closer to God. So he says, well, may whatever you're praying be answered. Because the purpose has been fulfilled in that you are now been drawing and seeking out God. So sometimes the very answer to your prayer is just coming to God in prayer. That He sees your need for Him. She said, let your maidservant find favor in your sight. So the woman went her way and ate. Now this is why I said she's been there a while, because she just got done eating with her husband. He said, am I not better than 10 sons? And it says she ate, and then she began to pray. And now here again, verse 18, it says she went her way and ate again. Now either she's a hefty woman because she's been eating double portions all her life, or she just was hungry. She'd been there a while. And the Bible says, and her face was no longer sad. Let me ask you a question. Is she pregnant here? Is she pregnant here? No. Has her prayer been answered here? No. All that has happened is that she has given God the problem. She was no longer carrying it with her. She just gives it to Him, and from Eli's words says, may it be answered. May whatever you're asking be. She ate again. She left behind her grief. Listen, not when her circumstances changed. I don't know where circumcision came from. She didn't leave behind her grief when her circumstances changed, but when she had taken her request to God and left it there. Listen to me, she found peace in her sorrow. And it happened through prayer. If she had not known her sorrow, if she had not known her barrenness, then she would not have sought for that greater peace that she experiences now. She experienced more sorrow than she wanted, but because she took it to God, she experienced more peace than she ever experienced before any problem. Peace is not the absence of problems, people. Peace is God in the middle of sorrow. That He gives you a peace that passes all understanding. Let's keep going. Then they rose early in the morning and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house at Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah, his wife, and the Lord remembered her. Again, we see the word remember. Not that God had forgotten her, but that God, in a way to bring her closer to Him, had kind of put her on the back burner. He says, I'm just going to leave you there without bearing children so that you will come to me, and then I will answer your prayer. So they hooked up, and it came to pass in verse 20, in the process of time, that Hannah conceived and bore a son and called his name Samuel, saying, because I have asked for him from the Lord. Now, this is the important part. Are you ready? Everybody look at me real quickly. And I want an answer. I don't want you to just think I don't want an answer. This is not a rhetorical question. I want you to answer because I want you to think about what I'm asking you. Are you ready? There was a question you're supposed to answer.
Yeah.
All right. Let's try it again. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Would Samuel have been born if Hannah didn't pray? Why pray? Because God uses our prayer to bring about His plan. He has a plan. And He will put you in sorrow, or He will put you in He will put the object of your desire in your prayer. Remember how the Bible says, trust in the Lord, He will give you the desires of your heart. Sometimes He will give you the desire to pray for something that you don't have so that He can bring it to pass. The Bible answers, no, He would not have come without prayer. He came, look at it, she says, because in the shape that it's in. Not because God is not in control, and not because God is sovereign and will do what He wants to do. The world is in the shape that it's in because we haven't been praying to see God move on this earth like He should be. Come on, people, work with it. I'm pouring my heart and soul out here like there's 300 people in the room, and I need your help. She says it's all because I prayed. Amen. The story goes on. It's amazing. I'm gonna short fast because I don't have time. But the child is born. She waits until he's weaned. She takes care of him until he's weaned, and then she takes him to Eli and says, "You can have my boy Samuel here to be a priest, to work in the ministry." Isn't that amazing? She was unbearable without children. I don't mean she was, but she couldn't handle not having children. And when she prayed, she got a child, and what did she do with him? Gave him away. You know why? Because it wasn't the child that she needed, it was the need for God that she needed. She said, "Thank you so much, God, for answering my prayer. But I have found that it's you I need more than a child." And she gives him away. But he doesn't leave her care. He leaves her home. But the Bible says that every year when they went to make a sacrifice, she would make him a new robe and bring it to him every year. She left his home, but he didn't leave her hand. She kept taking care of him. And he didn't leave her heart either. That God, and then on top of that, God gave her more children to replace the one that she gave away. If you give it to him, then he'll make more out of it than what you can do by holding on to it. You can't, look at me, you can't receive anything with a closed hand. Say, "God, I can't let this go, I can't let this go, this is the world to me." No, God is the world to you. And when you let it go, He will give it back. So listen to me real quickly. David Platt says it this way. He's smarter than me, so I'm going to let him say it. Then I'll explain it in dumb terminology. Once we have a right doctrine of providence, it will translate into a relentless devotion to prayer. So once we understand that God's sovereign being depends on us to pray, then we'll be relentlessly devoted to prayer. We'll never see God's full plan come to pass unless people pray. If this generation won't do it, then God will raise up next people in the next generation to do it. Do you have 5 more minutes? Can I have 5 more minutes? I know it's late, and I apologize, and I'm sorry. Do you have 5 more minutes? Can I have 5 more minutes? Nobody's answering me. That's why I'm continuing to ask. We'll have to edit all this out. I'm sorry, people on the internet, that these people don't answer me. I want you to think in this term. Look here. You can write this down. You can look at it later. In Exodus chapter 32 with Moses. Right? You remember Moses when he went up on the mountain to get the Ten Commandments? I'm going to shorten this real quick, okay? He went up to get the Ten Commandments. While he was up there, God said, "The people down at the bottom of the mountain have sinned against me, and they have made me angry, and I am going to rid them of this earth." Right? And that's my terminology. That's my translation. He says, "I'm going to take care of it." He says, but this is the important part. Are you ready? He's going to terminate his children. And the first thing he tells Moses to do is go down with them. Wait a minute, God. You just said he's going to terminate him. Why do you want me to go down? Right? He says, go down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made themselves a molded calf, worshipped it, sacrificed to it, and said, this is your God, Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and indeed it is a stiff-necked people, and therefore let me alone. My wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, and I will make you a great nation. Moses says, or God says, Moses, you go down with them. I'm going to kill them. And he says, don't you, or then he says, you leave me alone. Right?
Yeah.
And then what's Moses begin to do? Pleads with him. God, why would you do that? You remember your promise. You didn't bring them out to harm them. And Moses is like, in our physical mind, we think Moses is changing God's mind. Right? God wanted to kill him. God says, leave me alone, Moses. You go down with him. Right?
Yeah.
Here's the beauty of it. The beauty of it. We think, well, if I'm praying, and this circumstance is this way, and I pray, doesn't that change God's mind? No. God knows what's going to happen. So though they are wicked, down at the bottom of the mountain, and though he says, leave me alone, he tells Moses, I want you to go down to them, because they're wicked, and I need you to be the mediator between me and them. So he uses, in a very rough translated way, he uses reverse psychology on Moses. And Moses begins to say, God, don't do that to them. Don't wipe them out. They are your people. Don't burn them. Don't let your wrath out against them. And verse 14 says, so the Lord relented from what he said he was going to do to them. This is what happens. This is the beauty of it. What Moses knows about God is what drives him to pray. Moses knew God was a God of mercy. Moses knew God was not a God that was going to just wipe out his people. He could wipe them out in his wrath, that they deserved to be wiped out. But the God that Moses knew, now remember, Moses was not like me and you. He had saw God in many ways. He saw him in the burning bush. He had seen him split a Red Sea. He had seen him provide for them. He had seen him in a pillar of clouds and fire. He had seen the glory of God. And Moses also knew that God was sovereign and in control of all things, but yet he knows that prayer is still necessary to bring God's plan.